The investigation into singer David has intensified after the body of a teenager was discovered in a Tesla that has been Miss Celeste, and David's story just twisted into something way darker and straight up chilling. The feds claim they finally pieced together a timeline that paints David as reckless with Celeste. But just when everyone thought it was game over for him, his own brother Caleb comes out of nowhere and throws everything into chaos. He's saying the so-called airtight timeline the feds are flexing might not even be real. Here's how the feds laid it down, and it looked damning from start to finish. This album is my life. Like Withered is my life. Petals of Thorns and Lost Petals are what I wanted my life to be. And then Withered. They built a timeline that on the surface feels like a trap David could never crawl out of. It starts back in late 2021 or early 2022, when David first connects with Celeste online through Fortnite. Now, David was around 16 or 17, and Celeste was just a kid, about 11 or 12. That gap instantly threw up red flags. And investigators definitely weren't about to ignore that. Then comes March 28, 2022, when David drops a track called Decide. And here's the part that freaked people out. The lyrics mention "Save Your Tears 7 years." Fans and critics jumped on it, claiming was basically hinting at Celeste's age and waiting until she was older. That alone creeped people out. But things didn't stop there. Fast forward to September 7th, 2022, Celeste's birthday. On that exact same day, David drops another track called Romantic. Now, artists often tie songs to personal events, but dropping the tone right on her birthday felt way too obvious, and the feds saw it as more than coincidence. By October, Discord chats begin to leak, showing David asking things like, "Is Celeste in here?" And she answers back. That's when eyebrows really started raising. Then 2023 hits and things spiral further. A Twitch stream catches David laughing it up with Celeste over questionable topics before suddenly panicking and begging her to delete the VOD. Investigators flagged that moment instantly. February 2024, Celeste's mom officially reports her missing for the first time. And right in that same window, David's comment sections explode with people saying things like, "LPD is going to catch him for messing with a 13-year-old. Around this time, new photos surfaced of David and Celeste O'Carr, fueling suspicions that every time she disappeared, she was still with him. Spring 2024, she vanishes again, then briefly reappears, only to disappear once more. By June, she's spotted backstage with David like nothing happened. And by August, Discord users are literally posting, "Drop the one with the missing girl." Celeste's case had the internet buzzing long before the cops even caught up. And when September 2025 hit, it turned into pure nightmare fuel. Her body was discovered, dismembered, hidden inside the trunk of a Tesla. And the kicker, that Tesla was registered to David. No wonder the feds slayed it out like the ultimate smoking gun. It looked like the coffin was already nailed shut. From there, the fallout was instant. Police stormed his manager's house in a high-profile raid. His label pulled the plug and cut him loose, and David scrambled online, wiping his Reddit, locking down his Fortnite stats, and shutting every digital door he could. To outsiders, the case looked ironclad, like every breadcrumb led back to him with no escape. But here's the twist. Caleb, David's own brother, came crashing in with a claim that flipped the script. He insisted that all those dates, receipts, and so-called evidence weren't proof of guilt. They were proof somebody framed. David, that accusation cracked the case wide open. Because if true, it meant the timeline everyone thought was airtight could have been a setup. And then the whispers started. Rumors that Caleb wasn't just pointing fingers, but maybe even working with law enforcement. Online threads blew up, accusing him of going beyond distancing himself and actually helping investigators connect the dots. Some Reddit sleuths even accused him of snitching, tying pieces of his own music to the events surrounding Celeste and claiming he'd known more than he ever let on. Now in the hip-hop world, that word snitch hits like a nuclear bomb. Some fans slammed him as a traitor, while others said maybe he was the only one showing real justice. The divide was ugly, and the speculation only made it messier. So, what sparked this storm? Reports swirled that Caleb was quietly cooperating with police because he was disturbed by the accusations over his brother. Meanwhile, internet detectives dissected his lyrics, claiming certain bars eerily lined up with the timeline of David and Celeste. Then came a blurry photo, allegedly. Caleb spotted backstage with Celeste at one of David's shows, and suddenly the internet was demanding answers. Did Caleb really know more than he let on? Did he keep quiet until now? Or was this just him scrambling to clear his own name before things got worse? For now, nothing has been officially confirmed. The LAPD hasn't gone on record about Caleb cooperating. And that silence is only making the whispers louder, the rumors wilder, and the questions impossible to ignore. Some outlets even reported Caleb's been working hand in hand with the authorities. And once that rumor hit the web, people ran wild with it. Whether it's hard facts or just clout-chasing headlines, the damage is already done. Caleb's name is now tangled in the case, and there's no shaking it off. But the real question is, if he really is cooperating, what's his motive? Is this about protecting himself before the feds start pulling the whole camp under? Or is it about throwing David under the bus once and for all? Think about it. David's manager already had his house raided, and his label didn't even hesitate before dropping him. The people closest to David are slicing ties at lightning speed. So if Caleb steps in as the informant brother, that could mean two things. It's either a survival move to save his own skin, or it's the coldest betrayal possible, leaving David to rot while Caleb walks free. And here's where it takes a darker turn. If Caleb really is leaking info, then all those eerie songs, unsettling voicemails, and even the tattoos suddenly stop being creepy coincidences. They start looking like direct evidence, breadcrumbs pointing straight to David, the kind of stuff prosecutors dream of presenting in court. But before we crown Caleb as the ultimate snitch, we got Toddig into the other chaos. The wild viral rumors that have been muddying this story since day one. First up, the infamous pregnancy rumor data post on X racked up over 2.5 million views, claiming Celeste was pregnant when she died, and that infant remains were supposedly discovered near David's home. That one headline alone shook the entire fan base to the core. Suddenly, this wasn't just a toxic love story gone bad. It was painted as something way darker. But here's the reality check. It's been completely debunked. No medical confirmation, no forensic evidence, nothing from law enforcement. It was pure fabrication, a rumor that spread like wildfire because fans were starving for answers. Then came the messy saga about Celeste Shawn. Screenshots surfaced showing her flexing her new talent badge online, shouting herself out while the tragedy was still raw. Some slammed it as shameless clout chasing, while others argued she was just coping the only way she knew how. Either way, the optics were ugly, and it had people side-eyeing the family dynamics heavy. But here's the kicker. All this noise, these false leads, viral posts, and family drama don't just confuse the case. They bury the truth under layers of chaos. On one side, you've got federal investigators quietly building a homicide case step by step. On the other, you've got internet detectives blasting unverified theories that half-time turn out fake. It's a circus. And the deeper it gets, the harder it is to tell what's real and what's smoke and mirrors. And maybe, just maybe, this storm of misinformation isn't random at all. When the internet gets flooded with wild rumors, the real evidence gets buried under noise. And if Samini actually wanted to cover their tracks or throw the public off, drowning the timeline in lies would be the easiest trick in the book. So the question is, are these false claims just desperate fans reaching for answers? Or are they part of a bigger game designed to cloud the case? And this is where it gets truly disturbing, because while people are distracted by fake stories, the creepiest evidence may have been sitting right in front of us all along, hidden inside David's own music. What investigators are finding in his text and lyrics feels less like coincidence and more like outright confession. If the timeline in Caleb's rumors weren't enough, The darkest trail of clues may actually live inside David's songs, his breakdowns, and even his interviews. Dissect every lyric, every cryptic voicemail, every emotional meltdown on stage. And suddenly it stops feeling like art and starts looking like breadcrumbs. That's why so many fans are now pointing back to his past, because his background paints a chilling picture. David himself admitted in an interview with Days that his parents yanked him out of school, kept him homeschooled, and locked him in a strict religious household that was all about control. Some people even claim David was already showing dark fixations as a teenager, obsessed with blood, death, and violence long before video games and isolation fueled it further. Then he blew up online. Money started pouring in, and suddenly his parents loosened the reins. But by then his obsessions had already taken root. That freedom mixed with his fixation on Celeste may have been the recipe for disaster. To his fans, she wasn't just a girlfriend. She was the centerpiece of his Twisted L. She was the centerpiece of his Twisted L. Idol universe. The one person his art seemed to orbit around. That's why some believe he may have ended her between October and January, either before or just after wrapping his last album. And when you look at that album, the lyrics, the mood, even his interviews, the theory doesn't sound so far-fetched anymore. In one eerie sit-down, David even said, "That's what I feel for my art. It's beautiful for a time, so my music is only here for a temporary time. Withered is the process of going back to where I came from. A wanted the album to sound like a goodbye, a send-off to the next era, or whatever I'm doing next. Words like that don't just sound emotional. They sound like a goodbye letter hiding in plain sight." Looking back now, fans are haunted by one question. Was David saying goodbye to his career or to Celeste herself? In interviews and online posts, he constantly brought up the invisible string theory and the Korean concept of zong, a deep emotional bond that's nearly impossible to break, even when it turns toxic. David even admitted the irony was that the person who taught me this begged me, "Don't leave me," but in the end she left anyway, and now that person is gone from his life completely. How can you not connect that to Celeste? Then comes the flower symbolism. Another chilling layer. His project Withered was supposed to transition into a deluxe version called Japanese Lily. In Japanese culture, the red spider lily represents passing, mourning, and separation between life and death. It blooms exactly as summer fades into fall, the ultimate symbol of a moment of transition. Was this just an artistic metaphor for change, or a veiled nod to Celeste's fate and the smoking gun for so many fans? The fact that Celeste's actual voice is scattered throughout his music in tracks like "In Never Needed You in So Long," "Goodbye." You can literally hear her voicemails crying, drunk, apologizing, saying she misses him. In one, she even says, "You're always the one calling my phone. You have to figure out what's going on with you." It paints the picture of a girl desperately trying to pull away from a boy who wouldn't let go. It gets darker with his SoundCloud drop, Satan's Pursuit, in late 2023. In it, he raps, "It kills me slowly, day by day. I need to find somewhere to clean my thoughts, but I'm not happy at all. I let Satan pursue me. I still miss you the way it was before I threw my life away." Fans can't shake the feeling. Was he confessing in real time? And it wasn't just the recordings. His live performances turned disturbing too. In April 2025, during the BandLab experience, David broke down sobbing in the middle of Afterlife, unable to even finish the song. Then again in June, he performed it live and had another breakdown right there on stage. Audiences were left stunned. Was it grief, guilt, or both? Put it all together, the birthdays, the song releases, the death flowers, the invisible string theory, Celeste's voice on his tracks, his breakdowns on stage, and it paints a haunting portrait for his fans. To them, this isn't just coincidence anymore. It's an obsession carved into music forever. And that's what fuels the darkest theory yet. That David actually lived with Celeste's body for months before finally dumping her in a Tesla, hoping the car would get towed and destroyed before anyone uncovered the truth. Some even suggest maybe he wanted to get caught. Because why else scatter so many obvious clues inside his own music, his shows, and his interviews? But another big question lingers. If David really was spiraling this bad, did the people closest to him see no more than they admitted? His management, his label, even his inner circle. How deep could this cover-up go? Take Josh Marshall, David's longtime manager. The feds didn't raid his house for no reason. They hit him right after Celeste's body was identified. That instantly raised suspicions. Why would investigators target the manager unless they thought he was tied into this mess somehow? Fans online have been quick to call him out, claiming Josh and the label weren't clueless at all. Some even accused them of enabling David's predatory behavior, pointing to warnings they allegedly received about Celeste being a missing minor way back in 2024. And if that's true, then Josh doesn't get to play dumb. Celeste wasn't just another fan. She had been reported missing, yet she was still seen backstage at David's shows, surrounded by his crew, still underage. Anyone in David's circle could have looked at her and knew she was too young. The fake IDs, the fact she couldn't drive, the way she still popped up in concert photos, it should have been obvious. So why didn't anyone step in? The theory is simple. They looked the other way because the money was pouring in. And it gets even shadier. After the LAPD searched David's rented apartment, reports claimed Josh immediately ended the lease. Fans didn't see that as routine. They saw it as a cleanup job, a way to erase evidence before cops could dig deeper. And then the label moved just as fast, cutting ties with David almost overnight. As if they knew Asterm was about to explode and wanted no part of the fallout. That timing felt less like shock and more like preparation, which only adds fuel to the theory that people around David were aware of the ticking time bomb. And here's where Caleb comes storming back into the picture. If his brother really is cooperating with investigators, then focus may not stop at David. It could spread to management, the label, and even family. Everyone who stood close enough to see the warning signs but chose silence instead. Caleb pulling away. Or maybe even feeding info could be his way of dodging the blast while Josh and the labels scramble to scrub their names clean. But no matter how they spin it, one thing is crystal clear. David's no longer the only one under suspicion. His entire circle is being dragged through the mud, and the spotlight is burning brighter on everyone tied to him. The deeper investigators dig, the harder it is to believe this was just one young artist spiraling out of control. More and more people are convinced it was a whole system, a web of management, family and industry power that protected him until truth grew too heavy to bury. What looked like an isolated tragedy now reeks of something bigger, dirtier, and way more coordinated. Thank you for watching. If this story shook you, make sure to drop a comment, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this video so others can see what's really going on. And don't forget, click one of the boxes on your screen right now to check out more stories just like this. See you on the next one.